Welcome to a brand new episode of Charm City Beat. Jordan's back on the table, and we got a lot of updates for you.
If you walk through the garden, you better watch your back.
So yeah, Ravens won big at home. Let's start out with that.
It's a must-win.
They needed to win. I mean, Lamar Jackson's now 4-1 as a starter.
Yeah, and they fell behind early, and I think everyone was kind of interested to see if the Ravens could come back with that offense. And they kept running the football, and they went down the field, scored a touchdown, and business as usual after that.
I mean, I think at least for me personally, Lamar Jackson's answered a lot of questions, and I think at least right now he's doing what we need him to do. He's managing the game to the point that keeps other offenses off the field, and that is important. Plus, he confuses defenses. Like I said last week, it's hard to play defense against a quarterback that could literally take off and run a 4.40 on you and get down the field within split seconds. That's it. And throw. He threw the ball.
And I think one of the bigger things, he's taking advantage. Not taking advantage, but the offensive line's not very good. And I think
not at all.
You're seeing him escape pressure a lot. I mean, there's times where they got through the hole like that.
Yeah.
And he has to run. He has no other choice.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's not so much just what he's good at. It's more of like an instinctive thing that he has to do to protect himself. Because number one thing you hear from critics, he's taking hits. Well, if he didn't have to run every play because the line's falling apart, he wouldn't be taking those hits. And that's what I think the benefit of having Lamar Jackson compared to Joe Flacco, who's not as quick-footed. That's what that right there. He extends plays. I mean, that's something we haven't had in a while.
And to your point earlier, I think they're going to run with this for the extended, for the foreseeable future. Make the playoffs. They'll keep going this way, and then he's got the entire offseason. He's got mini camp. He's got training camp. He's got preseason to throw the football and become that passer. Because right now, he's no quarterback could ever run more than Lamar Jackson has
At all.
And he's done it in his first 5 games.
Yeah.
Let alone his whole career. And
not even Vic ran as much. I think I had a coworker that was talking about this. Like Vic didn't even run nowhere near as Lamar Jackson.
No, I don't think he had any more than 15 runs in a game.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's moving the ball. The ball's being moved. We're not getting too many 3 and outs. I mean, we're scoring. We're moving the ball consistently, keeping the defense off the field where they can be rested and come out there and do what they do best.
I mean, there was a point in the game when the Buccaneers were forced to go for it on 4th down, down by a touchdown, because they knew if they gave the ball back to Baltimore, they weren't going to get it back. And that happened, and the Ravens went 7 minutes, 9 straight running plays, and then they knelt it when they in the red zone because the game was over. It's unbelievable. If they can do this against LA on Saturday, they're going to be in good
huge.
shape.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. But let's talk about, there were some things I saw on the defense that really kind of pissed me off. I think our safeties are an issue.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see Eric Weddle break down a little bit now.
I think his age is starting to show, and it's a little heartbreaking because I love Eric Weddle. I think he's an amazing player. He's a good leader out there. But I definitely think there were a couple of passes that were, I'm not going to lie, Weddle's fault.
But at the same time, he's wearing that sticker on the helmet. That means he's the play caller. He's obviously the most, he's the veteran leader of that group, other than Terrell Suggs. But he's playing every single down, and he's seeing things. So I think not having him out there could be even worse than having him out there.
That's true. I mean, you lose. I mean, what he may be starting to lack, and I hate to even say that, lack physically. It's that mental part that we need. He's the quarterback on the defense essentially right now, and again, you don't want to lose him. But one thing I did see, Marlon Humphrey.
True. Yeah, and it is important to note that the Tampa Bay came in with the top passing offense in all football, averaging well over 400 yards a game. They were held to 157 yards passing, of which one was on a 64-yard pass and 12 points. So at the end of the day, the secondary played. I mean, they had some bad plays, but they obviously played well.
But they played well. They held them, and again, we got a big win. So, you went to the presser.
Yeah.
What did you take from that?
From Monday, by Harbaugh?
Yeah.
I think the Ravens know exactly what's on the table now with what they have to do. They have to win out. There's no other way about it. The Steelers winning, the Colts winning made it impossible for the Ravens to get it in with a loss, unless the Colts lose and the Steelers lose a bunch. And it doesn't seem likely, especially with the Colts playing the Titans in Week 17.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Ravens got to win on Saturday. If they lose on Saturday and the Steelers and Colts both win, it's done. it's over. The playoffs will be over. So I think they have to win on Saturday. And Harbaugh was very blunt about that.
Yeah.
And honestly.
I mean, it is scary, taking on the Chargers. I mean, you have a team that has been to the playoffs a lot. Philip Rivers, probably one of the more better quarterbacks in the NFL.
Sure.
He knows how to win. Again, it is very scary, and I mean, you don't want to see that season end. I want to see this trade move, but I think, again, hate to keep talking about Lamar, the offense is going to be the key. If we can keep their offense off the field, there you go.
But this is by far the toughest defense Lamar Jackson's facing.
Yeah.
They're ranked 9th. They're top 10 against the rush.
Joey Bosa
They've
can
got
keep
9
up
days
with him.
to get ready for them. The Ravens got to fly 3,000 miles to play these guys on a short week.
Yeah.
I mean, the cards are definitely stacked against them, but the Chargers haven't faced an offense that's been like this. I mean, the Ravens went from 27th or something to 2nd in the NFL in rushing in 5 weeks just because they're averaging almost 200 yards a game.
It's amazing. I mean, again, I think the chances there, as long as they keep doing this formula, I think if they can stick to this formula, the sky's the limit.
And Marlon Humphrey on that defense, too. This is another thing that John Harbaugh mentioned. He's playing really well. I think he's become that number 1 corner that they may have lacked the last 2 years. And he's dependable, unlike Jimmy Smith late in the season, who gets hurt almost every year.
Yeah, I mean, Marlon Humphrey's really growing into probably being one of the top corners in the league. I would, next year, sky's the limit for that kid, too. I mean, again, we got really lucky, like you said, Jimmy Smith hasn't been consistent. We've had Carr in, and we've had other corners, but no, Marlon Humphrey, in my opinion, is probably the best bet we have at corner. So, I mean, again, this game's Saturday. Big for the Ravens. Again, it's looking like the last game of the season is probably going to determine everything if we can make it past this week. But again, like you said, we have to make it past this week. That's how important it is.
It's their Alamo, in my opinion. And they got to worry about the Browns in Week 17.
Yeah.
When they lose another game to an AFC opponent at the end of the year.
And
but
that's we got some time for that.
Yes, we do.
But speaking of other teams in Baltimore, let's talk about the one at Camden Yards.
Big week for the Orioles.
Wow. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, a month ago they brought in Mike Elias from Houston to be their new GM, and he brought in with him the whole analytic forward thinking with baseball. He brought in the NASA engineer to do the analytics. He's rebuilding this whole team with a pipeline of talent.
Mm-hmm.
And now he brought in this guy who's been with the Cubs for the last, since 2011. The last 4 years he's been at the major league level. He was the first base coach in the World Series team. He was the bench coach last year under Joe Madden, former Tampa Bay Rays coach, won the World Series. And this is another team that's doing forward thinking, the analytics.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, before he took this job, but as the Cubs, he was with the Cubs as a talent. He brought talent in. He was developed player development.
And I don't think that stops. I think it's going to continue going. And, I think he's a guy that understands the tradition of baseball in Baltimore. I got that from watching a lot of the clips. He's proud to be here, and that's something that makes me happy. He understands the culture. He's happy to bring it back. And I think someone like Brandon Hyde's going to bring back that energy to Baltimore. Like, we'll be able to go to Camden Yards and fight for seats. I think that I can see that in a few years.
For sure. He was smart enough not to give a timeline for when they're going to turn this thing around.
Which is very smart.
But I think the biggest thing that I took away is that Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde are going to be working together. They said that Brandon Hyde is going to be a senior member of the front office, which means he's going to be involved in who they bring in.
That's smart.
Who they're going to start, who they're going to draft. And I think that the fact that you've got that transparency from the top to the bottom, which really didn't exist between... I mean, there was definitely some friction between Buck Showalter and Dan Duquette, the former GM and head coach. And I think they're doing this in a different way that we're not used to. And I think it's good. It's the future of baseball. I mean, they're from Houston and Chicago, who are two of the most successful teams the last half decade. It's big.
I mean, I think they could bring a lot of... I mean, it's something that we need. I mean, when you got to play, you're in a division with the Yankees, the Red Sox. I mean, we're in a pretty tough division.
The Rays won 90
Tampa.
Blue Jays are bringing up some talent.
Yeah, and I think the Orioles, yes, we're a little bit behind, and I think the fact that he didn't give that timeline is smart because it'll give fans, and I speak from a fan point of view because I'm not a brain like you where, but I speak from a fan point of view where I'm excited to see what happens and not having a timeline, just like, all right, let's just go with the flow. Let's see what happens. That's exciting to me.
The biggest question, though, is what kind of manager will he be? I know you had a good one in Buck Showalter, and you bring a guy in, but the fact that he's been spending the last few years watching Joe Madden, who might be arguably the best manager in baseball, what did he learn specifically when it comes to young players? What did he learn when it comes to, late game strategy? And obviously, I think he's got a really long leash. I think he's got a few years to become a team to win. But if you saw in Chicago and Houston, they turned that around quite quickly. I think in 2014, they brought up some guys, they drafted guys. And, if they start winning, I think the pressure's going to be on for Baltimore to actually start winning some baseball games. So they're going to get a new manager.
Yeah, I'm excited. 100 days as of our filming.
Yep.
100 days. Whew, it's almost here. In spring training, what's that, like? A month and a half away of that.
Yeah, early February.
It's coming.
It's a chance. He's always been with the Marlins and the Cubs, so he's never been in the American League.
Man,
I think it might be a little bit easier to strategize. There's no pitching changes and things of that nature. But we'll see.
We'll see what happens. So let's get into our next segment. Let's get around town. There's a lot of news out there. We'll start with the Caps beating the Hurricanes 6-5 on Friday. Capitals also beat the Sabres 4-3 Saturday. They play the Pens Wednesday. Today is Tuesday where we're filming.
That's a playoff rematch.
Jalen Smith also makes the Big Ten Freshman of the Week after a career best performance against Loyola. 20 points on 7 of 13 for shooting, 2 blocks, and 3 rebounds. Wow.
That's a 5-star player from Mount St. Joe. He was nationally ranked around the country. Maryland gobbled him up, and he's
loving it. Yeah. Next up, the better Flacco, in my opinion, right now. No, just kidding. Tom Flacco, Joe Flacco's little brother at Towson, quarterback. He was named ECAC FCS Offensive Player of the Year. Congratulations. Such an honor.
Got the Tigers to the playoffs for the first time since Terrence West was a running back there. Took the national championship.
Actually, it's funny. If you go back, somebody we actually know, Grant Enders, a friend, actually played with me at Old Mill High. Was a big quarterback in Towson years ago. Next up, some Stevenson news. Excited. School I went to. Men's lacrosse ranked 18 in the lacrosse preseason top 20. Stevenson, a strong culture of lacrosse there. Next up, 5 from Stevenson's football team were named for the all-ECAC team. Junior wide receiver Chaz Lyles, senior offensive lineman Brandon Flaherty were second team selections on offense. On defense, senior defensive back Brian Latham and senior Ashton Lesky were second team on defense, while junior linebacker Isaiah Pitts was an honorable mention.
Oh, and I must say, Maryland won the men's soccer national championship.
Yes. At that point, again, that was insane. I mean, again, I will... Wow. Maryland win a national championship. Maybe they'll do it on football. Who knows? This week in Baltimore history brought to you by the Baltimore Sun. We'll go back to December 19, 2005. Where Kyle Bowler was our starter. Our quarterback issues were probably a little bit more stressful. But in this week, the Ravens quarterback Kyle Bowler had passed for 253 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 48-3 win over the Green Bay Packers and the NFL's #1 pass defense on Monday Night Football, before a record crowd of 70,604 at M&T Bank Stadium. Baltimore set the team mark for points scored that day.
I remember that.
So many years ago.
And then in December 20th, 1966, Mark Belanger, 22-year-old, of Farmham won the Wrong Silver Glove Award, top defensive player in the minor leagues. He went on to win 8 Gold Gloves in a 17-year career. 1966, won the World Series that year.
It was the year my mom was born.
First of 3.
Yeah, that's awesome. But that does it for our show. If you're watching, again, on thisislitTube.com or on YouTube, stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share the video, comment, and let us know. Let's start a conversation. Stay tuned.
Way down in the hole. Way down.